Breaking news now on Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Breaking news at 6 o'clock this morning. A man is in the hospital following a shooting in Hartford. Police tell us it happened around 3 this morning near New Britain Avenue and Broad Street. You are taking a live look at the scene, which appears to have cleared. Fox 61's Glenn Kittle is there speaking with investigators. We'll get to him in about 2 minutes from now. But we have another breaking news story we're following in Hartford. 2 firefighters are hurt after a second alarm fire at a psychology clinic. We'll break down what we know so far, including details about how the flames spread and how crews put them out. And we're also following a weather impact alert this morning for a chance of severe storms later on this afternoon. So a lot to talk about. But first, good Thursday morning. Thanks for joining us on Fox 61 and streaming on Fox 61 Plus. I'm Bridget Buorlo. Let's get a check on the forecast with meteorologist Rachel Piscatelli. So it's good. We got to get through this and then enjoy the weekend. Yeah, well, and even today isn't going to be a bad day. It's actually an overall nice start to our morning with temperatures that are in the 60s and 70s to start us off. We are going to be watching the time frame about 2 to 8 o'clock. It's not going to be raining this whole opportunity, but that's really, or that time, it's just the opportunity is there for a couple of those to become on the stronger to severe side with some scattered storms around. So it's definitely just want to have a way to stay weather aware. Right now, though, in the meantime, a couple of areas of fog now, but a lot of that is starting to improve too. Here's what it looks like in New Haven with temperatures around 71 degrees and the wind is calm. Elsewhere across the state, we're still dealing with a quarter-mile visibility into Meriden as well as in New Haven, Willimantic. Still hanging on to the fog, so we are expecting some patchy, dense fog this morning. Otherwise, our numbers are in the 60s to near 70 to start. It's not all that bad. It feels actually pretty good over in Torrington right now, as well as in New Milford and Danbury. A little bit more muggy as you get closer to the eastern side of the state. So it's going to be nice and bright throughout the day. Hot, though. Temperatures will be in the 80s across most of it. And then that weather impact alert issued for 2 to about 8 o'clock this evening. Temperatures 88 degrees in Hartford, 87 in New Haven, southeastern Connecticut in the lower to middle 80s. We'll detail it where we go from here. Your full 7-day forecast coming up in just a bit. 6:02 right now as we check in with the roads this morning. There's really not much to get to except for that fog that's out there now. So it's just kind of looking across parts of the state this morning along 395 as well as portion of I-91, dealing with the denser fog along Route 22 as you're traveling into the capital city. Live look outside over in New London. That fog getting a little bit better. It was pretty thick earlier this morning. So 95, we do have light volume there in your drive times to the state lines. No delays yet in the area of New Haven into New York. Bridget. All right, Rachel, thanks. 6:02 now. We continue to follow that breaking news in 6 out of Hartford. A man is in the hospital after police say he was shot on New Britain Avenue. Fox 61's Glenn Kittle joins us once again from the scene, which just cleared moments ago. Glenn, what have you learned so far?
Yeah, Bridget, investigators moved out of New Britain Avenue about half an hour ago. We saw them taking pictures of evidence along New Britain Avenue, somewhere between the laundromat just behind me to my left and the building to the right of that. What we do know is that police received a shot spotter activation at around 3 this morning. That's a system that alerts police to the sound of gunfire. When police arrived on scene at around 3, they found one man in his 20s with a single gunshot wound. Police say he was alert and conscious when they got to the scene and was treated at a nearby hospital. We're going to show you video from earlier this morning. This is when police shut down New Britain Avenue at around 3:30 this morning. Major Crimes was on scene, and the crime scene division was also on scene, trying to figure out the events that led up to this shooting. As of right now, police have not named any suspects or have said that they've made any arrests in this case. We're still looking to learn more. We have reached out and we'll bring you the latest updates as we learn more. Live in Hartford, Glenn Kittle, Fox 61.
All right, Glenn, thank you. Also breaking in Hartford this morning, 2 firefighters were taken to the hospital overnight after a second alarm fire on Wethersfield Avenue. Let's take a look at what it looked like earlier this morning. Hartford Fire tells us it happened around 1:30 a.m. at a psychology clinic. When crews arrived, they say the fire had spread from the back porches to the 2nd and 3rd floors. Crews were able to put out the fire and no one was inside at the time. But again, 2 firefighters have minor injuries. We're still waiting to learn what caused that fire. And we've learned a dog has died after an apartment building caught fire in Hartford last night. Firefighters rushed to the scene on Putnam Street just after 7. Crews said the fire was on the 2nd floor. They were able to put the flames out. We're told 2 families who lived in the building need to find somewhere else to stay. Crews say they don't know how this fire started either, but look at that damage on the side of that building there. Many people are already hitting the road across the state ahead of the 4th of July holiday weekend. And like every year, it's all about getting to your destination safely. State officials want to make sure people celebrate responsibly, and that starts on the roads. Fox 61's Joe Monty talked to the state DOT about what to expect.
The 4th of July is almost here, and as families hit the road towards their holiday destinations, roadway dangers increase. The Connecticut Department of Transportation says the number of accidents that are caused by impaired driving are already high, and they increase during the summer holidays. Eva Zamaris with the DOT says drunk driving is the #1 cause of deadly crashes on roadways. Those numbers grow even larger this time of year, especially among teen drivers in what's known as the 100 deadliest days on Connecticut roads. Last 4th of July weekend, Zamaris says there were nearly 60 crashes and 1 death on Connecticut roads caused by impaired drivers. Zamaris wants to see people keep themselves and others safe. One way to do that is to think ahead. I went to a gas station and spoke with people about their travel plans for the holiday. Jane Winters lives in Kentucky, but is originally from Connecticut. She's in town to celebrate before the holiday to avoid dangerous drivers. Winters is a nurse and a paramedic and says she's seen too many people killed from driving impaired.
Before you have that first drink, please make a plan. Make a plan to have a designated driver. Make a plan to use public transportation or a rideshare service. And if you see a loved one, if you see a friend who's about to get behind the wheel while impaired, please take their keys.
People don't realize the risk that they're putting other people at when they do that. I have some lasting memories that will never go away. They're horrible, especially when you've got a family that is dead in the car. Especially if children are involved.
Zamaris and Winters want to emphasize how important it is for you to drive sober and not distracted. If you've had even a little alcohol or substances that could impair your driving, do not get in the driver's seat. Get a ride or stay where you are. If you don't, it could cost you your own life or someone else's. In Newington, Joe Monty, Fox 61.
That's because there's a new formula that caused some vehicles to increase. Fox 61 Stefan Reels went to New Britain, where frustrations have hit a fever pitch over an increase in the vehicle tax. Stefan.
This new property tax evaluation method has been in the work for several years and was mainly done as a way to create a singular way to calculate the taxes on someone's car. Because up till now, you had each city and town in Connecticut, they had their own formula to figure out that number. But be that as it may, this news still came as a shock to a lot of people, so much so that you had city leaders like New Britain Mayor Erin Stewart get involved and address her community.
We have so many of you who have been reaching out to me.
People living in New Britain and all over Connecticut have found themselves even more confused after the state's new car evaluation went into effect. There's a new formula that has caused the value of some vehicles to increase significantly, with an increase in the valuation rate by 5 percentage points and a change in how a car depreciates in value until it's 15 years old.
Assessors are now required to utilize MSRP, so manufacturer suggested retail price of your vehicle, and then apply the statutory depreciation schedule to calculate the depreciated value of your vehicle. So the way that they did it before was that they were using market value or J.D. Powers.
To avoid penalties, taxpayers must make their payments by August 1st. And as the deadline approaches, people like Thomas Davis have begun to wait by their mailbox to see what they will have to pay.
Kind of hard to determine what you're going to get. You just got to basically look out for it, and you got to deal with what you get.
So what's this all going to look like? Well, let's use this car for example. Originally, under the old method, let's say it was $6,000. It could potentially be around $8,000 for this go around, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have to pay more for it on your taxes, and it all comes down to something called the mill rate.
I spoke with Sarah Spodek, the tax clinic director at Quinnipiac University. She told me despite this increase in base valuation, taxpayers should expect to pay lower bills this year due to the requirement from the new method that towns apply the lowest mill rate, or the amount of dollars you pay for every $1,000. And while this could seem like a benefit initially, those rates could increase in 2026 to help make up for the budget shortfall cities and towns may see in 2025.
New Britain alone has lost millions in potential car tax revenue.
if you want to make a push against paying this new value, there is a chance to make an appeal. And to find out what options you have, you can always check out your city or town's website to figure out what may work for you. In New Britain, Stefan Reels, Fox 61.
Closing arguments are expected today in the Raul Valley murder trial. Valley took the witness stand earlier this week where he recounted the events of the night 17-year-old James McGrath was stabbed to death. After the defense and prosecutors deliver their closing arguments, jurors will begin deliberations. A Connecticut corrections officer pleaded guilty in federal court to charges connected with threats against a federal agent and his family. Scott Robert Hardy worked at a detention facility in Connecticut. Prosecutors say he used social media to post threats against an FBI agent and his wife. He shared photos of the wife and a map of their home and told others to burn down the house as the family slept. Tardy now faces up to 20 years in prison. The FBI says Tardy lied to investigators and tried to hide evidence. They still found enough to connect him to these threats. He's set to be sentenced later on this year.